Happy Pride! Welcome back to our channel. If you are new here, I'm Katie.
I'm Steph.
We are a married lesbian couple from Vancouver, Canada, and the creators of Let's See the World.
So we've both told our coming out stories. Unfortunately, Theo was a little bit too shy to tell his, but maybe we'll get it next year.
So after telling our coming out stories, we thought today's video could be offering some coming out advice, things that we wish we had known before coming out, and things that can hopefully help some of you on your coming out journeys.
So if you saw our coming out stories, you'll know that everyone's coming out story is very different.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen them, be sure to check out those videos. We posted them last week.
Yeah, you can really see Steph and my stories are like the complete opposite.
Yeah,
we came out in such different ways. And yeah, our experiences couldn't be more different. It's just a reminder that everyone's coming out story is unique and there's really no one way to come out.
Unfortunately, that also means that there's really no roadmap or directions for coming out. So we're going to offer some advice, but just remember that there's really no wrong way to do it.
The first thing that we wish we had known ourselves is to be patient and kind with yourself through the coming out experience. I know that that's something I could have really used as advice. If you watched my video, you'll know that I came out all at once when Steph and I started dating. And while in a way it was easier to do it that way, I also, looking back, really wish that I'd taken my time. I'd taken more time to come out to myself first before telling everyone. And I wish too that I had just been more patient through the process and just known that it was going to be a journey that was never really going to end.
When I came out, I definitely took a little bit more time, and honestly that really helped me figure out things for myself first before telling people. I confided in close friends, and I kind of told people when I was dating someone new and things like that. But in terms of coming out, I really didn't come out as a big statement until I really understood myself and really was comfortable with my identity. So I actually think somewhere kind of in between what we did would have probably been more ideal. I probably took a little bit too much time, but You know what? There's nothing wrong with taking some time to figure things out for yourself.
Definitely. If that's what feels right to you, don't feel like you have to rush. Don't feel like you owe it to anyone to come out to them. It's important that you take your time, be patient, be kind to yourself along the way, because it can be a difficult journey. Our next piece of advice is to start by coming out to someone that you trust. After you come out to yourself and you're ready to start telling other people, it can really be helpful to choose someone close to you, either a friend, a family member, a peer, someone at school, it doesn't matter who, but just someone who you really trust is going to be there as a support system.
The chances are the people close to you, even if they don't necessarily know exactly what's going on, they might have some kind of indication that you've maybe been holding something back or not being completely open with them. I know for my friends, for my close friends, they definitely knew that I wasn't kind of out of my shell as much as I could have been, and it kind of made sense when I came out to them because they knew that there was something going on that I wasn't telling them, and they were just really relieved that I felt comfortable sharing that information with them, and they were super happy for me.
Yeah, those first moments are really important. I know, looking back in my journey, before I was really ready to come out, I had a moment where I mentioned something to a friend of mine and they didn't have a good reaction, and it really sticks out in my memory as being a tough moment where I kind of felt that shame for the first time and sort of stuffed it all down. And looking back, I know that I chose the wrong person to tell, and I knew that they weren't going to be supportive and that they would be judgmental, and that was a choice that I made that really impacted me. So having those people that you trust are going to support you is so important, and starting with them can really make the coming out experience go more smoothly.
Definitely. And if you are a little unsure of how someone may react, maybe test the waters a little bit, talk about a celebrity who has just come out and see their reaction, or going in and knowing that it's a safe space is important for a lot of people. So if you need to kind of test the waters, don't be afraid to start mentioning things and kind of just see how people react.
Absolutely. Also, if you have any queer people in your life, coming out to them is a great first step. they've been through it, and you know that they're going to understand, you know that they're going to be able to be a support system to you, and it can just kind of lift that weight off your shoulders a little bit to have that first person that you tell to have it go well. So definitely something to consider.
Our next piece of advice is to find community support. So depending on where you live, that might look like something in person, or you might have to look for resources online, and both luckily are available.
Definitely. It's so important, I think, to have a support system, not only of the people close to you, but to also find a support system within the LGBTQ plus community to connect to while you're coming out. And that might look like a group at your school, or maybe a community group where you live. If there's nothing like that, then definitely finding a support system online, on social media, on groups online. There's so much out there, which is amazing, because I think it is really important and necessary for everyone to have that, to feel connected to the community, and to know that they have support.
Even for us, having a lot of close friends here in Canada who were very open-minded and very accepting of us, it was really important to kind of find our queer crowd, if you will.
Yeah.
And we really didn't find that until we started connecting with people online. And ever since then, we've connected with so many amazing queer women all over the world, and it's so nice to have that connection, to share stories of, you know, common experiences and things that other people just might not understand.
Definitely. That's been a really important part of my journey for sure. When I first came out, I didn't know any gay women. Steph was the first lesbian that I met, and I really didn't feel that sense of community when I first came out, and it took years before I really found that sense of belonging in the lesbian community, and that's really due to meeting people online, and I'm so grateful that we have that, and I just know how important that is for everyone. Another piece of advice that I really wish I'd had before coming out is that it's okay and sometimes necessary to set boundaries with people in your life after coming out. Unfortunately, you can't control the way that everyone's going to react. You can't control how everyone's going to treat you, how they're going to treat potential partners, and it's okay whether they're friends or family or whoever they are, if they're close to you in your life. It's okay to set boundaries with them in order to protect yourself and protect your relationship and to protect your peace and happiness.
Hopefully that's something that you won't have to do with the people in your life, but unfortunately it is a reality for a lot of people in the LGBTQ community. So don't be afraid to lay that groundwork, set the boundaries, and protect yourself.
Exactly. There can be a lot of pressure to kind of put up with other people's behavior, especially if they're related to you, and you know, you're just expected to their family and you have to have those relationships. But if they can't be supportive and respectful of you after coming out and of your relationships and of your life and of your queer identity, then it's okay to do what you need to do in order to protect yourself.
Our next advice would be to surround yourself with queer people.
Yes, if you don't have any queer friends or any queer people around you when you come out, it can really help to look for those people to have in your life, whether that means going to some queer events or queer spaces in your community if you have any, or going online. There are even dating apps where you can just look for friendships and just find people to connect with who are also queer. It can be really validating to just have other people going through the same thing who have shared experiences that you can talk to, and I think that's a really important part of the coming out experience.
Yeah, and remember that queer spaces and queer events aren't just reserved for Pride Month. There are events and things all year round, so get on the internet, search for events in your area. If there's nothing in your area, look for places online, look for spaces online. There's definitely a network of people out there that are waiting to be friends with you.
For sure. That's been a really important part of our journey as well, is finding other queer friends and other queer couples to spend time with. That's been something that's so important to us and has really helped us along the way, so we definitely recommend it. Our next piece of advice is to utilize things like therapy. I know for me, still now, 10 years after coming out, I still have a lot to unpack with what I've gone through over this past decade, and therapy has been a really great tool for me in order to help me do that. It can really help with just unpacking some of that shame and internalized homophobia that a lot of us grow up with, and also just unpacking some of those experiences after coming out. That's been a really great tool for me. If you can't go to a therapist where you live, you can also, there's lots of online options, which is what I do, and that's something that I definitely recommend if you're having a difficult time in your coming out journey.
Luckily, there are so many therapists out there that either specialize in working with people in the LGBT community, or at least are transparent about the fact that they're very open and open-minded.
Yeah.
So it is really easy nowadays, both online and in person, to find counselors who are both inclusive and equipped to work with people in the LGBT community.
It's okay to admit that coming out can be hard and that pieces of it can be traumatic. Experiencing homophobia is a traumatic experience, and it's okay to talk about the fact that it's difficult. It's okay to acknowledge if you've had a hard time, if you've had difficult experiences along the way. I think sometimes we, want to show coming out as like sort of the end of the difficult part, and after you come out everything is just going to be great and you can lead this happy life, but that's not always the case. A lot of people in the community go through really tough times, and it's okay for us all to talk about that and acknowledge it and just make sure that everyone's getting the support that they need.
Another piece of advice we have for the coming out process is to remember that you don't need to burden yourself with the responsibility of educating everyone around you.
Definitely. If you have people in your life who want to become better allies to the community, it's not your job to teach them how to do that, and you're allowed to tell them that it's their responsibility to educate themselves. Unless you are volunteering to educate everybody around you, it's not fair that people can expect that you're going to tell them everything that it means to be queer and everything about the community and answer all the questions that they might have. It's okay for you to tell them that they need to educate themselves, and if there are people around you who are refusing to do that and they don't want to be an ally again, it's okay to set boundaries with those people in order to protect yourself.
Luckily, there are so many great resources out there, and don't be afraid to recommend a documentary to someone or a book or some articles on a website. You can still provide that information to people, but don't feel like you need to answer every single question all day, every day, because that can be exhausting.
We definitely position ourselves online as being people that you can come to ask questions, and we are happy to do that, but it can be really exhausting. And so if we have people in our personal life asking for that as well, sometimes we will just point them in the direction of where they can find that information and not feel like we have to be the ones to educate them all the time.
Our last piece of advice is to just remember that you will be coming out for the rest of your life. Unfortunately, this idea of busting down the closet door and coming out once and having a big parade is just not reality.
Yeah, that's something I wish I knew for sure, because I did come out all at once when I started dating Steph, and I kind of thought that was it and I'd be done, and that's definitely not the case, because I come out every single day to people, and being someone who presents as more straight, everyone just assumes that I'm straight and I have a husband, and I'm constantly correcting people and I'm constantly outing myself, and it's exhausting, and that's something that I wasn't prepared to have to do. And I don't think non-queer people realize that the coming out process is something that happens every single day. It's not just something that happens once.
Yeah, we live in a very heteronormative world, so even things like phone calls where you're talking to a government official and they say, "So what's your husband's name?" and I'll have to correct them. I mean, I'm fine with doing that because I'm quite happy to do it, but I am constantly correcting people in those situations. So just remember and kind of be prepared for that.
Definitely. And not that you owe it to every single person you meet to come out to them. That's completely a personal decision. But just knowing that most of the time people are not going to assume that you're queer, and that is something that you'll have to deal with moving forward. We really hope you enjoyed this video and that you found some of this advice helpful. We've been thinking a lot about our coming out journeys this month and just all the things that could have made them easier, all the things that we wish we'd known. So anything that we can share to help someone else's journey, we want to do that.
Yeah, and we're still reminding ourselves of these things all the time because
Definitely.
They're still relevant to us even now. Thanks so much for checking out this video. Be sure to subscribe to our channel. For Pride Month, we're putting out 2 videos a week, Tuesdays and Fridays. So hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out.
Yes, thank you so much again, and we'll see you next time.